morning everybody, and welcome back to the next part in our glove tutorial series. So you should now be at the point of being ready to take off the thumb stitches. So we've worked all of our thumb gusset increases, and on the next row we're going to remove these thumb stitches and then carry on with the actual hand, if you like, of the glove. So what we're going to do is take these stitches off here, and then we just have to knit a few rows, because if you notice, when you look at your actual hand, your thumb is down here, but your little finger doesn't start until way up here. So what we've got to do is take off those thumb stitches and then knit a little section up to the point of where your little finger is going to start, because that's the first finger that we're going to knit. So we need to take off our thumb stitches first. So to do that, all I've got is a tapestry needle with just a little bit of fingering weight yarn. You want it the same weight of yarn or a bit thinner if possible. That does make putting the stitches back on the needle a bit easier if your yarn is at least the same thickness. If you can find some that's a bit thinner, then all the better. But this is just a fingering weight that, you know, it is a bit thinner actually when you look at it. So all I'm going to do is on this next round is knit to the point of the first marker. Or what I did, and I said this on the podcast I think actually, is that when I'm working my thumb gusset, I actually split it so that I've got half on the front and half on the back. Whereas I think on most patterns it'll tell you that all of your thumb gusset stitches will be sitting on your back needle if you're using magic loop. I just find that a bit awkward to knit when the number of stitches are quite disproportionate, if that's the right word. So all I do is I just split them so that then I know I'm working one increase here and one increase over there. I just find that a lot easier. So what I'm going to do is just knit across to that first marker, and then we'll remove our thumb stitches. And we do this exactly the same way as if we were knitting a mitten. So if you've ever knit fingerless mittens or full mittens, then up until this point, really, it's all exactly the same as working a fingerless mitten. So let's just work across. Okay, we're nearly at that marker now. So we work up to the marker. Slip the marker off now, we don't need that. And now what we're going to do is just pop all of the thumb stitches onto waste yarn. So to do that, all we're going to do is go into your stitches purlwise with the tapestry needle and just pop them onto the needle. So you can do this a few stitches at a time if you want to, but because mine are on two sides, I tend to just work that side. Pull those onto the yarn. Obviously don't pull them all the way through. And then I just flip the needle around, and just as if you were going to start knitting the next side, just pop those onto the needle and then carry on taking this side off to the next marker. So just pop those off and then take off that next marker as well. Just slide those on like that, take your tapestry needle out, remove that marker. And now what I have to do, follow what your pattern tells you to do, but I've just got to backwards loop cast on one stitch over that gap that's here. So just backwards loop. I have done tutorials for backwards loop cast on, but we just do one stitch and then turn, and then I'm just going to knit to the end of that round now that we've got those stitches on there. But what I usually always do, just to be sure that I'm not going to lose these stitches, is I just tie my two ends in a knot. Whoops. Just knot that, and then you know that those stitches aren't going anywhere. Just trim the end of that. So now I'm just going to finish knitting that round, and then I'm going to knit a few rows just to get to that point of where we're going to start the little finger. So I've taken the stitches off here, and you can see if you follow my finger across, we've got a bit of a distance there where we've just got to knit a section. So I'm going to do that, just plain knitting up to the point of the little finger, and then I'll see you back in a minute and we're going to work that first finger. Okay, so I've up You can see from where we took the stitches off here, I've knit up and I'm now at the point of starting the little finger. So the little finger is going to come up from here. So what we're going to do, in my case, I mean, obviously you'll be following your own pattern and your own stitch count and everything like that. But for my particular glove, what I'm going to do is I'm going to knit 7 stitches. And then I'm going to take off 44 stitches onto waste yarn, which will leave me with 6 stitches on my back needle. I'm going to backwards loop cast on 1 stitch over the gap, so I will then have 14 stitches for my little finger. So you just follow whatever stitch count you're working to, but that's the basics of how we're going to work that first finger. So again, I've got some waste yarn ready and waiting. This one's a bit longer because we've got more stitches that we need to take off. So first thing I'm going to do is knit across 7 stitches in my case. That's 7, just double check, yeah. And then I'm going to push those sort of quite well onto my needle because I don't want those slipping off at all. So now I'm going to take off, it's 44 stitches, but I know that I've just got to leave 6 stitches on that back needle. So I'll just go ahead and take these off exactly the same way that we did for the thumb. But I'll just do these a few at a time because obviously we've got more going on there. So just when you've done a few, just pull it onto the waste yarn and then do a few more. And then the rest from that first needle. And then turn your work and just watch those stitches over there. We don't want those flying off. Pull your needle through. It's a bit fiddly, this bit, but you know, just take your time. It doesn't take very long. You just have to be careful of this needle here that's got those stitches on. Just grab hold of it and then just carry on. And I'm just going to leave 6 stitches because I know that's then the right number onto my waste yarn. They actually use surprisingly little yarn gloves, I think. I mean, I've not weighed the first one at all, but I reckon I'll get, you know, my pair of gloves for less than 50 grams of yarn. So 2, 4, 6, I've just got 2 more to take off. And that leaves me 6 there. So that's all of the sort of palm stitches or the other 4 fingers off onto waste yarn. So I'm going to flip that back around because I now need to just backwards loop cast on 1 stitch before I work those 6. So just cast that 1 on, turn back and then knit those 6 stitches. And we're now obviously just working on the little finger, and all the other stitches are just going to sit there waiting for us until we've finished the first finger. I'll just flip that around so you can see. There we go. That backwards loop cast on stitch is always a bit tight, I find, just pushing it back on. So there we go. We're now ready to just work up the first finger. That waste yarn, again, if you wanted to, you can just tie those ends, knot them. I will do that. And just to, you know, to make sure that they're not going to go anywhere. Follow your pattern to work however many centimetres, or if you're working in inches, that the little finger should be. My pattern actually told me I should knit until it reaches 1 3/4 inches, but when I measured my fingers I found that they were all about 1/4 of an inch longer than the pattern was telling me to knit to. So this is where you can customise your gloves exactly to the size of your hands. So I just made sure that I knit about 3 more rows, I think, than the pattern told me to, just to account for the fact that my fingers are a bit longer than the standard, I suppose. So you're just going to work up to the top and then just do decreases however your pattern tells you to do it. Mine are just knit 2 togethers, and then you just pull the yarn through and then you've finished that finger. So I will carry on and finish that finger, and then I will see you back in the next part of the series, the tutorial series, when we're going to start the next finger and then start working along for the other 3 fingers. I was trying to work out how many I'd got then.